right, hello and welcome to another episode of Classical Pairings. This is the starting as maybe the calmest episode we've ever had, as we are currently sitting in the Indianapolis Museum of Art at Newfields. If you've listened before, you know that we tend to be in bars and distilleries and that sort of thing, but now we're in a far more dignified situation. But we're going to be having some fantastic wine here in a little bit. We're going to be talking about collections, both in libraries and in wine and wherever else the conversation may go. So thank you so much for tuning in. I'll go ahead and let our guests introduce themselves. Phil, do you want to go first?
Sure, thanks. Thanks so much for having me. I'm Phil Ponella. I am the Wennerstrom Phillips Music Library Director at the Jacobs School of Music. I have to get another title in. It's the William and Gail Cook Music Library. So I've done all the official introductions of all the donors who have made my job possible. So I'm the Music Library Director at the Music School at IU. Mm-hmm. I also have an additional role as being the Director of Information Technology there as well. So I wear two hats, but they're obviously complementary.
Okay, very good. Josh?
And I'm Josh Ratliff. I'm the Director of Culinary Arts here at Newfields, which includes everything from weddings and special events to our cafe and our food galleries and things like the beer garden and pretty much anything that has to do with food. It's coming across my desk.
Okay. And you are a certified?
I am a certified sommelier and a member of the Guild of Master Sommeliers.
What does that mean, certified?
Certified means that I've gone through a pretty rigorous testing, two-tiered testing that involves the theory, history, biology, chemistry, and taste and service of wine, sake, and spirits.
Oh, sake is involved in that.
Yep.
I did not know that.
And it's not a wine.
Okay. So. It's not?
No.
I'm already learning
brewed.
things.
It's brewed. Yeah.
It's brewed.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I've already learned something. Usually we just go until I learn something. But I guess we'll keep going. Why do we call it rice wine then?
We didn't have the word for
okay.
else.
I guess
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. So how did you decide that was your path?
So I had this idea, and I don't know where it came from, but I had this idea that I wanted to do something that I could fail at. I had been at my job as I had finished up my chef apprenticeship, and I was then going back to front of house, which is leading dining room services at Cummins Incorporated in Columbus, Indiana, for their corporate hospitality and executive dining teams. And I was like, man, they have incredible continuing education plans here. Like, I want to do something that's going to be really hard that I could fail at. And I started learning about that, and I was like, this is definitely it. If you've seen the documentary Somm or Into the Bottle, it's a pretty crazy test.
I think I've only seen that one movie, Sidewinders.
Sideways?
Yeah. Sideways. That's all I know about wine.
Yeah.
Is that pretty accurate?
It's emotionally accurate.
Okay, good. So you wanted to do something you could fail at.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. I just I was younger then, and
okay.
Yeah, it took me about 3 years, and passed March 30th, 2015.
Huh, okay. So Phil, did you get into libraries because you wanted to do something you could fail at?
No.
Okay.
Although there was always that chance.
Yeah.
I had actually started in the music school world. I had gone to school I have a bachelor's and a master's degree in clarinet performance.
Oh, wonderful.
Speaking of things you could fail at. And when I completed that degree, mom and dad, who had seen me through a master's degree, kind of said, you're on your own now, good luck. And so I needed a job. And there happened to be a job in the music library where I'd gone to school. Mm-hmm. And
was that at IU or was that?
No, this was in Hartford, Connecticut at the Hart School, part of the University of Hartford. Yeah. And I really took that job with the intention of paying the bills while I took auditions and got a gig playing in a symphony orchestra somewhere. That's what I wanted to do. And in that first year or two when I was doing that, there were a handful of auditions, the best of which probably paid $12,000, $13,000 a year. The fourth and extra bass clarinet player with the Eastern Savannah Symphony, and 500 of us all showed up at that audition. Yeah. And so they got me starting to think. And it was around that same time that I met the person who would become my wife and starting to think about the future. And the person who I worked for there was very supportive and said, you're kind of good at this, and you could have a career if you really wanted to. Yeah. So that's one thing led to another, and that's how I got into it.
Yeah. I mean, I started as a saxophone major, actually. And then, so I did jazz for a long time. And similarly was looking at the actual prospects for me and ended up going in a different route to the very lucrative world of musicology, and where failure is everywhere. But anyway,
trumpet performance.
oh really?
Okay.
Yeah.
You have a degree in it?
No.
Oh, okay, that's fine. We should have.
Speaking of things
We could
we
have had a
fail
jam
at.
session.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
I know, yeah.
Next time that we're all hanging out, we'll do that. It'll be fun. So then, how did you Did you have an interest in collection management and that sort of thing, or in collecting, or
I collected things. Like we had then it was records and CDs back in those days. And since I was a kid, I still have them in the basement. And my wife is, why do we still have these? Some baseball cards and things. So I always had an interest in collecting things. And I think, the generation that I'm from, that was not that uncommon. But really what sparked my interest was the summer that I started working in that library, they were throwing out the card catalog and automating and getting an online catalog for the first time. And I got involved in that project. And that really sparked an interest in how we can make things available in new ways, and this thing that I had been involved with for so long in terms of like music school and how we discovered music and how we made it available to students kind of got me excited. And so that's really what sparked my interest in libraries, was that bringing it to students and how we can share things in new ways. So
yeah. So did that lead you also, Josh, like wanting to be able to share this with your customers, and so like to increase your own knowledge and find new ways to interact with customer bases or with people?
Well, I think, managing and building a collection of wine for a chef to play off of and use is not too dissimilar from equipping a student with primary source versions of something that could help them understand what they might want to write or perform. And I think for us, it's equally global and equally difficult to manage that collection, but it's also fun to taste lots and lots of wines and learn lots about it. So, for me, it was about building my wine program for a chef, and becoming a sommelier was a way for me to do that in an organized way, to be able to know, am I doing it well?
Yeah. That's interesting. I had never thought of that. So you would sometimes come with wines, and then the chef would come up with recipes or you guys would collaborate in that.
It would go both ways.
Okay. That's interesting. I, for some reason, always thought like that the chef would do it, and then the sommelier would try to pick something that they thought worked with it. Okay. So do you maintain a personal collection of wine?
I maintain some private collections of people that have a lot more money than I do.
Okay.
So
you get hired out to go do wine collections?
wow.
So
we both picked the wrong career.
Yes, for sure.
it only pays in wine.
Yeah.
usually.
No. I mean, I want to be the very rich person who can hire you. That's what I mean.
Yes, got it. I'll give you my card. At the
Okay,
end.
sounds good.
But my collections usually, I'll come across a wine, which we're gonna taste one of them that I really love. That's under $10, and I say, tell me if this goes on closeout, and buy 3 or 4 cases of it. And so my collection is usually for something that I can host with in my house and drink with pizza. I very rarely keep bottles for and build my own collection.
Yeah. What do you think drives the people who are maintaining the collections? Like, what is their motivation in building a large collection?
Well, I think you have as many motivations as people would have to do anything. Some of them are in it because they practice retail therapy and they just love buying expensive things and having them. Some people do it because they like the social aspect of being able to kind of brag with objects and entertain people with it. Some people are very seriously treating it as a commodity. Like if you look at
like an investment, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the Chinese, the way tariffs right now are obviously going to play a big deal in it, but the Chinese opening up Chinese wine markets in 2009, like all of a sudden wine became an investment. So very little people were drinking it, but they were buying it at $9,000 a bottle because it does appreciate so well.
Wow. How long does wine appreciate?
It depends on how you make it, but the longest lasting wines in the world can last 100 years.
Yeah.
So typically it's like 30 years for any very, very well made wine. You're drinking it about 30 years probably.
Okay. That's interesting. So I'm thinking about this. This because I have a vinyl collection and a music collection, and I have more instruments than I play, and people just give them to me. And you said you had a baseball card collection, and do you still do collecting of that kind of thing?
Not really. I mean, I have them, and every once in a while I'll pull them out because my wife will say, "We've moved these boxes so many times," and I'll wonder, is there anything of value in here?
Yeah.
You know, like, maybe I should just sell one and buy a car or something.
Yeah.
No, I don't have anything like that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But we still have our recordings, our CDs, and our. I think we've gotten rid of most of the LPs at this point.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we don't actually have an LP player anymore,
okay.
and most of what we had, we either transferred to digital or we have on CD now.
So that sparks a question for me. So I think to an extent, there's both with maybe not so much wine, but for music. There is a separation between like once it's digital, but it's an idea, and there's also just the idea of music that's on the sheet of paper or in the LP. But there is this thing that can fall apart and die in records and tapes, and so like or even like original primary source like manuscripts or those pieces of music. So. Do you see do you have a problem with the like death of physical permanent?
Oh, it's a huge problem. This is one of the big issues facing us right now. And I'm very fortunate, Indiana University had a big project that we're just finishing up called the Media Digitization Preservation Initiative, MDPI as we refer to it. And it allocated about $15 million to transfer all of the analog audio and video around the university. And the Music Library was the largest holder of that. But what we've discovered is, after several experts have written reports and consultations, that the material will degrade and become, some of it, especially analog tape, all of that magnetic tape, reel-to-reel tape, and cassettes not so much, but still problematic there. And eventually that will just become unplayable, whether it's handled properly and maintained properly. Just being in oxygen will affect like the tape. The other part, though, is the obsolescence of the equipment to play it on. You can, you may have all those records. 50 years from now, you're going to be able to find a working turntable. That's, that's another question. So this has really driven a lot of our work. And the transferring is, there is an expertise there that involves a lot of technical expertise, audio engineers who know how to handle the materials and properly maintain equipment. So it's kind of gone out beyond libraries, but this has been something that libraries have dealt with for a long time. But we're at a critical point in history, I think, where the digital age has allowed us to do a lot with preserving things digitally. But nonetheless, digital files have their own care and feeding that are necessary too. I mean, if you've ever had a hard drive go bad, right? You don't want to have your only copy of that thing on some hard disk. There are technical routines that have to happen to make sure that what you put in is still there and you can get it out again. And every so often, file formats change. So who knows in 10 or 15 years if we're going to have to reformat everything digitally to make sure it's still playable with contemporary technology. So But to answer your question simply, yes, this is a huge issue for us.
I think it's interesting, though, you thinking about these objects and these two things you've said, Josh, have struck me in this conversation, talking about bragging with objects and then, or, what we might call like a social capital, or, because I have a record collection, as I mentioned, and one of the things I do, I freely admit, is I like to show off to my friends, hey, look at my record collection, go pick a record. And it's fun and I enjoy it. And most of my friends are music people, so they get a kick out of it too. But it's a little bit nerd flexing, right?
Yeah.
And then, but I do have a turntable right now, and vinyls are outselling CDs right now. And most of this because CDs aren't selling anymore. But still, vinyl is actually quite popular amongst people around my age and younger. I mean, I almost exclusively listen to vinyl now. At home, which is again maybe a little bit nerd flexing, but I just enjoy the ritual of it and the and the art. But I also know that they're going to fall apart at some point. But I think almost maybe the fact that it's going to fall apart and going to die makes it more fun to collect, and it's like holding on to this thing for as long as we can. I don't know if people feel that with a bottle of wine. Like you hold it, but then especially a bottle of wine, it might be gone in one like. Eventually, that wine gets open and then it's gone in a night. Unlike a record, which you can spend. Maybe not forever, but maybe 500 times before it really starts to degrade. I don't. Do people? I'm not asking a question right now. I'm just kind of rambling.
Well,
but do people sort of think about wine in that way?
I'll react to what you're saying.
Okay, thank you.
I think yes, they do, and so you have these this like pedantic approach from certain wine collectors that are trying to preserve the youth and hold on to these bottles forever. And it just won't. And so that's the nature of wine versus other things also, is that not only is its end always going, even when it's in bottle, but once bud breaks every March on a Vitis vinifera vine, the life of that wine is started. You can't pause it, you can't start, you can't stop. With beer and spirits, it's all starting with malt, which is dried grain. So you can start whenever you want. You can hit pause, and
that's interesting.
So I think with wine, there's this kind of arc and this phrase that once it begins, you can't stop. So I think the collecting part of that is one part of it, and people. Often collectors will collect more than they could drink. Like their liver would collapse if they drink their collection.
I have more records than I will listen to be honest. I mean, if I would need to listen to a bunch every single day to get through them all within the next 30 years.
I've wondered if I could follow up on that, though. In dramatized in TV and video, all in film, the 42 Chateau de whatever is the greatest, and someone has that bottle and they're saving it for this special occasion later in their life. And I often wonder, what's the window there? I mean, I'm going to have it. We're going to have it on our 50th anniversary. Well, I often wonder, well, what if you don't make it to 50? I can just drink it now. But is there, does it degrade over time? I've wondered about that. Like, maybe it was had this great reputation in this time window, but if you wait too long, you're going to be drinking vinegar when you're 75 or something.
Yeah, I think that's determined by the winemaker and how they take the unfermented grape juice, what they do with it between, the juice being pressed and the bottle. There are regions like we're going to drink some from Italy. Italy has 2 or 3 regions where they make long-lived red wines on purpose. Namely Barolo, Barbaresco from the Piedmont region are really painful to drink under 10 years. I mean, they're just not made to be drunk quickly. Bordeaux has a lot of those wines as well. Your bigger like Napa Cabernets or something, like those are all made to last a really long time, and it's because they deliberately make it that way. But for cash flow reasons, normally people make quick drinking wines because you can't just can't wait around and make your money.
Yeah.
So almost all wineries are making both, and collectors hopefully are buying both. Wine collectors are always eager to, like other fashionable things, we're eager to declare a great vintage. The 1929 Margaux, 1969 Lafite. By the way, Las Vegas sells more 1929 Margaux every year than was ever produced. So fraud is a thing. Totally. But it's also, it's how the winemaker takes the juice and finishes it. It's not just the weather. So some is made like in a long lasting fashion, which means they might add a lot. They might be higher alcohol, higher tannin, higher color. All of those things can have antioxidant properties in the wine. If they don't filter it, that can also be antioxidant and preserve aging. But it's also comes down to are you making a pop tune, or are you writing something that's contributing logically to the global conversation or to the canon of this work? And so most of the time, your winemakers are trying to contribute to the canon, but they need money, so they're also pumping out some pop tunes along the way. And I imagine a lot of composers and a lot of work is like that too.
Yeah. How do we know that wine is so good if people don't open it to drink it? Like somebody had to open it and be like, "Hey, this is really good. Stop opening it." Does that happen?
Well, I think it's almost the opposite. It's like, oh man, this is terrible. Let's wait and
see if it gets good.
Maybe these problems will just go away on their own. But there are markers. So if something is extremely tannic, we'll taste something that has a lot of oak tannin, high acid, and unfiltered. We can taste that, and you can see oh, this is going to last for a long time.
Yeah.
And I think that's what is winemakers are shooting for, is that special bottle that you're kind of landing it on, like in outer space. It's like it's going to be perfect in 30 years. It's a much more difficult calculus.
When you make decisions for your restaurants or for these collectors, how much do you rely on your personal preference versus your professional training? And I guess a follow-up, is there even a difference at this point between your professional training and your personal preference with wine?
Well, I think the curse of being a professional is that you are often training yourself to not be biased and not have a personal preference when you're dealing with it, and that's what the third-party standard teaches you in any field, is how do I erase some gut feeling I have about this, or my own experience that I bring to the table, and be completely objective. So for me, it's like, if I'm making decisions for wine that will be impressive, it's everything from how does the label look, and is it who's going to be drinking it, and if it happens to be someone that I know a lot of their preferences, I'm really choosing wine to pair with someone else's preferences, not mine. But I mean, for my own personal preference, I think wine is a daily celebration and should be low alcohol, good with food, and inexpensive.
Okay. Well, that made me thirsty, that little proclamation. So let's drink some wine, shall we? Yeah. It's wine time. I'm ready to try some. We've had some serious conversation. Let's get a little levity and some celebration in here. I'm ready.
All right. Man, the pressure's on. My no drip wrist action there. Wow. There's always one drip.
That's fine. It's a celebration.
So, yeah. So we ready? Okay. So, before we evaluate the glass, I'll just tell you what we're drinking here. So this is one of the kind of, I would say, a high quality pop tune of wine. So this is Frascati Superiore. Superiore just means that it's bottled at 1% higher alcohol than it would have to be by law. And Frascati is the grape. This is 2017, so pretty quick to drink. And so here we are. I mean, it's wine from Frascati. So this is also another tip and trick. Yeah. This DOCG, so Denominazione Origine Controllata e Garantita. I don't speak Italian. Sorry. Just means that not only has it passed all quality standards, but that government officials went there and said, this tastes right, it's grown right, it's all the way official. If you don't see a DOCG, that's just telling us it's all official.
So is that related to? Sorry, I keep referencing whiskey just because I know a little bit more about it. Like the proof system with whiskey, where the government declares that yes, this is as much alcohol as it says it is.
Yes,
but this also means it tastes good.
Yeah.
And so it's a step further.
So if you were trying to be certified in anything. This means it's certified for export to be a representative of what it says it's going to be.
Okay,
so
perfect.
Famously, your Super Tuscans, which they grow Cabernet and mix it with like Chianti grapes, Sangiovese, and the Italian government said that is illegal and you have to bottle it under like the lowest level of quality standard because it broke from tradition.
Yeah, I see. Okay.
They've since done all right.
Okay. So.
All right. So yeah, let's just take a smell.
Take a smell. Okay. Torture me.
So, youthful, but it's got a little bit of complexity. Your color on this is, a little bit of gold to it. It's, closer to your Chardonnay than your really light and watery color. That means just like our skin gets more tan. Like this means it saw a lot of sun and the skin set with the juice for a minute. On here, also, this is a fairly cool climate grape, so some of those fresh aromas are in there. My trigger for cool climate or kind of higher elevation is I smell like envelope adhesive, like licking an envelope. So,
Okay.
so there's a little bit of like lick an envelope in there,
Yeah,
stamp
okay.
back kind of thing in there.
But it's weird to think of that as a positive thing. No one.
Well, I guess
I've never
it's
licked an envelope for fun.
I don't know. It doesn't taste that bad. Out of everything you could.
Okay. Do you lick a lot of envelopes?
I
for
do
it?
not. But,
Okay.
but I'm glad you said that though, because from the smell to the
Okay.
taste, I was expecting something a little sweeter, and that kind of captures what I got instead. Yeah, kind of an envelope.
So it's
Yeah.
okay if I go ahead and drink it now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I preliminarily.
No, there's no rules
Okay,
today.
sorry.
We're just having fun. So, you know, this is food wine. Italians,
Yeah.
you're not gonna make a bottle in Italy without some acid on it. So our pH levels, we're salivating right now, which
Yeah.
means our digestive system's waking up. We kind of want some food with it,
Yeah.
and so that's the white wine. It's the perfect place to start. And in terms of a collection, your white wines are almost always going to be less long-lived than your reds. So most of your white wines are for drinking quicker. But that's not always true. Some white wines.
Can I have some more?
Yeah.
I like it. Now I have to do my pairing, and I've got my research to do.
Yeah, I'm trying to
Okay.
think
Yeah.
through
So
what-
so what other
musically.
things do we want to know about it so you can like pair? So
So if you were giving this to like a customer at a restaurant or something, what are some of the tasting notes or something? You gave us some. You said envelope. Maybe what are some that are more pleasant taste? Do you see what I'm saying?
okay. So
Am I
we're
swirling this
in-
right, by the way? Sorry to interrupt you.
I love how you're swirling
I
so
doing that?
safely.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
being very
good.
careful. I don't want
Sometimes
There's a
people
microphone.
go really nuts and they're like doing this thing. They're trying to look like a Napa Valley
Is it
ad.
important to swirl white?
I swirl everything. It's
Okay.
what it's doing is it's just getting those ethers more surface area so they're off gassing a little faster. So just like
Okay,
perfume
okay.
has alcohol in it to
I see.
keep it moving off of your body.
Okay.
That's bringing the smells out. So
Hey, sorry, I keep interrupting you. Tasting notes.
so we're in the old world.
Okay.
And in the old world, winemaking styles are usually towards food and towards more earth and fruit balance. When we get to the new world, so New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, Chile, America, all that, those are usually fruit, more market driven. Like people want to drink it and be like, yum, tasty. I like this right now. Where this bottle, you have a lot of grass or like hay in here.
Okay.
And that kind of sweet, like round bale that's been around a minute, kind of sweet, funky smell is, so, this is not something that you love right away. This isn't splashy, big, it's just kind of, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And it has that more earthy, mineral, grassy thing. It's not big and fruity.
Yeah. I really like it because I tend to not like too sweet or fruity of wines. I tend to like kind of a drier white, if you would call this a dry white.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But it does have that little sweet kiss at the end, just a wink
Yeah.
of that roundness
Yeah. Okay.
that finishes out.
You got any ideas?
I immediately thought of something like the well-tempered clavier. Because
Interesting.
it's sort of,
Okay.
it's not, it's not sweet. I mean,
Yeah.
the well-tempered clavier is kind of, it's almost an exercise in a way. It's
Yeah.
less dramatic and romantic. It's more of a, it's kind of.
Is this? I'm gonna get. Is this Bach?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
J.S. Bach.
Yeah.
You wrote a couple volumes of works to explore
Okay.
different key areas.
Yeah. So I went there, but
Yeah. Yeah, that's fun. Let's go with that. I mean, and there's something about that. It's sort of about like the method and the process,
Right.
and it's sort of like the ritual of it, which I think Bach was maybe more of a beer drinker, but I think he'd do okay. I know he drank a lot of beer, so I think he'd probably be fine with us choosing one of
Yeah,
his.
I think there's a certain dignity and
Yeah.
cheerfulness.
Yeah.
It's not pretentious, but not.
Yeah.
It's not romantic. This
Yeah.
is not
exactly.
a
It's-
romantic
it's-
glass.
Are you feeling maybe one of the fugues, or are you feeling one of the
perhaps.
toccatas?
Yeah,
One of the fugues, you think?
Yeah, I think.
Okay. Should we just go with C minor? I mean, that's a heavy hitter.
Sure.
It's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that's from
probably
the
what I would've
first one.
chosen.
You should have chosen C minor. Well, as a trumpet player, I'm sure you played some pieces in C minor. Or maybe not.
Easier.
Maybe that's what scared you off. But all right. So let's give a little listen here to Walter McAveer. If you
All right, we'll have a splash more.
yeah,
please.
and that'll be even better.
There's
Yeah.
also a little bit of nostalgia. Something like because the fugue kind of creates that echo type feeling,
Yeah.
so like it makes it more spacious, but it always falls away. You know,
Yeah.
like it's not big. So that's because this kind of has a big hit on your mouth, like acid
Yeah.
and roundness and glycerin, but it just keeps falling. It's kind of ghostly in that way. I like.
You always kind of want more of it. once you get into a Bach fugue, you want to like see it to the bottom of the bottle and the end of the meal, or
Yes.
something. Like you don't want just a little bit of it. Yeah, I think that's fantastic. What was the name of the wine again?
So this is Frascati.
Frascati.
Yeah.
That's a region. In
Yeah,
Italy?
yeah.
Okay.
So Frascati is the region, bottled at Superiore, and this Casal Marchesi is the chateau
Okay.
or the estate.
Yeah, I don't think Bach ever made it to Italy.
I
don't. Which is
hesitated
fine.
to say Bach because
Yeah.
of that. I was
No,
trying
it's
to
fine.
come up with some kind of Vivaldi.
I think that if he
or-
had, I think he would have liked this. Yeah.
who could prove us wrong?
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Yeah, we're authorities.
Yeah.
Bach would have loved this
That's
wine.
right.
There, I said it. All right. Oh, we grabbed another bottle. I'm excited now.
You ready?
All right. Yeah. Let's go for round 2. What do we got here?
Okay, so next up we're pouring. This is a Kuhn Rioja Reserva 2014. So the way that Rioja works is very much like we were talking about with the whiskeys, that they age this in barrels and then release it once it's ready to the public. So this is current release, 5 years later. It's been
Oh, I see.
It's
Okay.
been bottled after 5 years in barrel.
What is the word again that's telling you that it's
Reserva?
Reserva means that
Yeah.
they held it back
Yeah,
before
so-
they released the bottle. Okay.
Crianza would be young,
Okay.
and then Rioja Gran Reserva would be much longer aged in
Okay.
barrels.
Yeah. Okay.
And that they call it élevage in French. That it's been kind of elevated by barrel aging over time.
okay.
So diving in on this one, you're gonna see this is a lot more masculine, a lot more. This has all of this is a structure heavy wine. This wine is about structure, not just fruit.
I don't know what that means.
Okay, so so structure in wine. I think of it. I use music theory as
Okay.
structure of the wine is alcohol, tannin, acid. These are not tastes. These are feelings. So I think of the
Okay.
structure of the wine like a chord that's like your 1 and your 5. There's no
Oh,
real.
I see. Okay.
It's just it's there. It's bigger. It's smaller. It's
I see
1
what you
5
mean, yeah.
or
But it's the 3 and the 7 where you get your flavor.
yeah.
Okay.
So
What do you think? You
Yeah, I like that
Okay,
example.
yeah.
so you
Some people probably don't get that at all, but that's okay. But I understand what you're saying though about that, the outline kind of the wine,
yeah.
and then all the other stuff happens in the middle. Okay.
So this is a very expressive, heavy, like big structure. I'm thinking like octaves and things like are there. Like it's
Okay.
and then, but then there is this just splashy, romantic, just softness and lyrical. It's maybe the like going the opposite direction of this tempered. Kind of walking tempo. This is kind of just like letting loose.
Oh yeah. Where's this one from?
So this is northern Spain. So
Okay.
Right as green Spain kind of rises up into the mountains, the Ebro River's there, and you've got Haro, the capital of the region of Rioja, and so this is mountain fruit. So it's grown higher elevation, cool climate, so it maintains acidity. It's not cooked like down in the valley, and
Interesting.
just wicked. This grape is Tempranillo.
Tempered. Okay.
Tempranillo is the grape,
Tempranillo. No, I still can't say that right. It's okay.
and the style is Rioja Reserva. So
Okay.
big, dry red. This is great with all kinds of different food, as long as it has animal fat in it, you're good.
Okay.
So what do you think?
Well, I was immediately when you were describing big poundy octaves and splashy romantic, I immediately thought Rachmaninoff.
I was trying to fit closer to the region, but I should probably
Yeah,
stop
I mean
doing that.
obviously that's Russian.
But, yeah.
But if you want to talk big splashy octaves,
For sure. Yeah, that works. That
romanticism,
absolutely
I think
works. Yeah.
maybe his first piano concerto.
Yeah, sure.
Which I mean it's a Russian piece, but it's about like the structure of the octave sort of being pounded at you a little bit, like before you then get seduced by the fruit of the harmony.
Right. Oh.
Did you like that? Did you like that? Okay.
Yeah, does it work? I think. Well, I mean, we'll have to.
Yeah, no, I like
tell,
your description of it. Yeah, why don't we?
Yeah, I like.
You all right with that? All right, we'll give a
yeah.
little listen. We'll just start at the beginning of the first movement. Yeah, of Rachmaninoff Piano Concerto No. 1.
Yeah, I think that works really well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This wine makes an entrance to the room,
Yeah.
and that
Oh,
piece
yeah.
makes an entrance on the stage, and it's just so much fun.
Yeah,
Like,
if this glass, even this, 1 ounce of wine was in a glass and we left it in this room, came back later, the entire room, the aromas and aromatic presence
really?
of this is really strong, which I kind of
interesting.
think that's what you're hearing, this
Yeah.
like powerful,
Yeah.
masculine thing.
Yeah.
So it works.
What kind of food would you said anything with animal fat?
Yeah.
I'm sure if you were talking to a chef, he wouldn't just say animal fat.
Right.
You probably-
So I think, and I usually speak in general terms like that so that I can quickly reduce bad wine experiences risk with guests or with people, like, because they're like, oh, I love this wine and we're gonna buy a bottle and take it home. I'm like, just make sure you don't put it with a salad. You know?
Okay.
Like
yeah.
this was sushi. Like
Yeah.
yeah, just
It just wouldn't work. Yeah.
yeah. No reason to spend money on fish. This would just destroy it. So
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, so I think of this as a good, if you got a good chicken guy where the chickens like move around and so there's more blood vessels working in their bodies, that like a really good chicken with this.
A good chicken guy? I don't know what that means.
Yeah, like if you have a local producer that's like
okay.
raising chickens and they're
I don't
eating-
have a guy that I just call up that brings me a chicken,
man.
but I'm
Night-
missing out.
Nightfall Farms.
Okay.
In Southern India, and they're really
Okay.
anyway, but they're running around eating bugs and
Okay.
doing regular chicken stuff.
Okay. Just
Yeah, so
chicken
they're-
hangouts.
It's really like dark, colorful meat. That's what I would go for.
Okay.
Are they listening to Rachmaninoff too?
I'm gonna call them.
Okay.
I bet that would affect the way it tastes. If
There's
they're
a
doing chicken
dissertation
things.
topic.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Okay. We're doing our third and final wine here.
Okay. So this one, I have played a part in kind of how it tastes because
okay.
this has been sitting on my desk since last week,
Okay.
open, but
On purpose? Or did you just
I just
you
didn't
left
get
it up
around
there
to
like,
it
oh, I need to
after
pick a third
tasting.
wine. I'll do this one on my desk.
But I thought so. Like, don't judge me on like producing this perfect wine. So this is
Okay.
Amarone del Valpolicella. This is
That was beautiful.
a classic classico. So this is pasamiento, which is where they dry the grapes on mats for many days, raisinating them slightly till they're all puckered. Sometimes they are, get a little bit of like hard raisiny character to them, and then they press the wine. So this is concentrated, but I also
Does that
thought
like make the alcohol content higher, or it just changes the taste?
it makes the color and everything else more concentrated because the water's coming out. The alcohol comes from the bricks or the sugar measurement of the wine.
Okay.
So, and then yeast goes in, splits it into two, CO2 and alcohol.
Okay.
So alcohol content's always half of your bricks content, which is your sugar
Okay.
in your juice.
Okay.
But this guy is going to drink.
Oh, that is dark.
Yeah, and it's going to drink really differently. It's
Okay.
going to be all the way opened up as if it's, very vulnerable. Like the new Judy Garland movie, like this is like Judy at the end. This is not this is not over the rainbow Judy.
Okay.
When you say you left it open, you mean it had been opened and you recorked it, or you literally left it open to air?
It was recorked, but it's just been sitting at room temperature with exposed to oxygen for a while. But it's so funky and expressive, and It's just a house of mirrors in here.
Show them
So
our label. Show them the label. It's beautiful.
You're using too many descriptive terms now. My musical examples are getting muddled. Because
Where's this one from? Originally you said? It's,
Valpolicella is a region. It's usually a blend of different grapes, Corvina mainly.
Okay.
And Amarone. Amarone just means that it's going through that drying process. Beforehand. So these are very long-lived wines, and this is the Classico. So this is the most specific, most high-quality region.
Okay. How would you know if a wine would benefit from sitting open on a desk for a week? Like
So
most wines would not take well to that, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right. So anytime you've got a screw cap involved, don't age
Okay.
it. My general rule, like if you're spending around $15 to $25, $30, the reds, I usually try not to drink the whole bottle in one night and drink it down and just put it uncorked open in the fridge and then pull it out when I start cooking the next night. And it's going to keep changing for 3-4 days. And it's just fun to see how it falls apart, which is going to tell you how it ages. But the quick way is like, we just tasted this and it's like got acid, it's got tannin, it's got dark color, it's got high alcohol. That's that structure. It's going to last for a long time.
So you could let it sit open for a few days and
weeks before it would turn to vinegar.
Really?
It's crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. But like the white wine, you wouldn't do that probably.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what are some tasting notes I'm looking for here?
So you're immediately getting a full range of fruit. Red, blue fruit, like blueberries, but there's also plums in here. And it's very available. This is like, it's not quite candy. It's like pie filling fruit. It's just luxurious. It's available to you. It is expressive. And when you smell wine that's raisinated like this, it has that kind of like pride and dignity in old age. So it's kind of like, it's much different. Where this is like, has a youthfulness and brashness, confidence. This is like, has that kind of like
maturity.
Yeah.
now, I had something in mind before you said that, but
Let's hear it.
Respighi Pines of Rome.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
it's fantastic.
Because it's sort of got that.
There's even some pine. When you said that, I was like, oh, it's kind of piney in here.
Yeah, I think that's great. Well, why did you think though that piece? I think that's a really interesting choice.
It's it's sort of a large, fully flavored piece. Lots of large orchestra and lots of brass and these big chords. But then that when you were describing sort of that stateliness of and there's sort of an old worldy feel to it as well, and it sort of reckons to the old world.
Yeah.
So. But yet it's very satisfying, and that piece is very satisfying in its romanticism.
I think this is less of like an individual voice and more like a landscape. Or it's kind of it's bigger. And so that's what I thought when you said like that Pines of Rome piece. So,
it's a landscape, not an individual voice.
Yeah, where I feel like this was someone like banging out a piano or belting their voice through something. This is more
I've never heard wine called a landscape before.
This is the first time. This is the first time.
Okay, that's probably a common word that you use.
Right here.
Okay.
No.
Well, I want to listen to a little bit of Respighi's Pines of Rome. I think that's a fantastic.
Did you have a different idea? I didn't mean to jump on it.
I was still thinking, and I'm gonna say I wish I had that idea because it's better. I don't know.
Well, those like French horns work with that warmth in here, and it's not as it's lovely. But I was also kind of like imagining like this wine is like remembering all those things that were happening, and like it's like it's great call. Great call. And I will say, for anyone who's never, this is the first time I've ever like actually done this. Although like I drink wine while there's music on all the time. But I this is fascinating, like really fun.
Yeah.
Well, good. I'm glad you're here. We have a lot of fun with this too. It's a weird idea that we had for this show of pairing all these different like delicious beverages and foods with music. And I think like this just makes me this wine and that music. I just wish I was laying on a hill in sunset, like in northern Italy or in Austria or something, listening to this piece and sipping on this wine. And But we can go ahead. This has been a really fun conversation. I've really enjoyed talking with both of you about collections, about digital versus analog, about wine collecting, building, and I've learned so much. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to this episode when I'm not actively sipping on wine, so I can remember all these words that you've taught me, so that I can go and start building a little bit of my own collection to rival my record collection and show off even more to my friends. Be like, hey, look at that! Yeah.
Well, they'll come by because they're sipping wine, and you can redo this. You know?
Yeah, that'd be great. So thank you so much, Josh and Phil. This has been a real pleasure. Thank you to the Indianapolis Museum of Art and to Newfields for hosting us for this conversation. We're empty here, but I'll say a quick cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.